Hello there, it's Harper. Welcome back to Pages and Reels. Today I wanted to dive into a relationship analysis of the Macbeths from Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth. If you haven't already, I've done a separate episode on the three witches, so please have a listen to that if you get a chance. Also, I wanted to add that I know that Macbeth is based on pieces of actual history, but I have chosen to just analyse the play as a standalone for my speculations, rather than go through comparisons of the real historical figures that the play uses as inspiration. So, firstly, let's talk about Lady Macbeth. We all know who she is. There's been endless analysis on this iconic character, so I wanted to take a slightly different approach, not just who she is, but the marriage between her and Macbeth. What kind of dynamic did they have that led them down such a dark, destructive path? Honestly, the usual representations of their relationship in the play have never felt particularly interesting to me because they were one-dimensional. A greedy, power-hungry wife manipulates her insecure husband into committing regicide. Then, for some inexplicable reason, she suddenly grows a conscience, loses her mind, and ends herself off stage. That's it. The end. I mean, what? No dramatic death scene, no build-up to her remorse, just gone. That always felt anticlimactic and kind of nonsensical to me. Where's the warning? If she'd shown even a flicker of internal conflict earlier, maybe it would have made sense, but she doesn't. 1 minute she's summoning spirits to unsex her, and the next she's scrubbing invisible blood off her hands, overcome with guilt. Also, can I just add here, through the modern lens, Lady Macbeth clearly has something going on mentally, though I'm not going to try and diagnose her. A very tortured psyche, in my opinion. Also, let's just get the obvious out of the way. The Macbeths are not good people. You're not going on any double dates with this couple. And Macbeth might be good on the battlefield, but he has very little political skill, very little social skill, and zero emotional intelligence, which then, of course, leads to his lack of emotional stability. Being hungry for power doesn't make you powerful. You have to have other types of intelligence supporting this hunger for you to actually get anywhere. We don't know how long the Macbeths have been married for, but I'd guess a long time. People married young back then, uncomfortably so when judging through our contemporary lens. But despite having been married for so long, it's clear throughout the play that they don't really know each other. Maybe it was because Macbeth was constantly off fighting, and so they never really got the time or the chance to find out who each other were. It's abundantly clear that Lady Macbeth never truly knew who her husband was before the events of the play, and that might explain her unrealistic expectations of him throughout the play and her subsequent disappointments. It's possible their marriage wasn't even a love match. It might have been political and or arranged. That would explain the lack of affection between them. Or maybe it was a love match, but Lady Macbeth came from a higher social class than her husband, while Macbeth had to rise through the ranks as a soldier, but started off at a lowlier social class. This is what might have fueled his need to prove himself to her, making him susceptible and vulnerable to her goading. She clearly wears the pants in the relationship, and you have to wonder why. What leverage does she have? What hold does she have over him? From early on, it's clear Macbeth doesn't want to kill Duncan. He only does it because she pushes him. So then, why does she have so much power over him? Which then also brings me to another question. Is Macbeth secretly an emotional masochist? Lady Macbeth's go-to manipulation strategy is questioning his manhood. She seems to know exactly what to say to hurt him and make him react. What a loving and supportive wife. I don't think there is ever a time in the play when she says anything loving, encouraging, and supportive towards him. It's kind of always, you're not enough, therefore you're not enough. And what makes it worse is that it works on him. and I bet it worked every time she used it on him. These kinds of tactics tend to be part of a pattern of behaviour. They're not one-offs. So then, Macbeth, why tell her anything? Why write to her about the witch's prophecy? You know she's going to weaponize it. Do you not know your wife that you've been married to, I assume, for years? If you can't fight back when she attacks you, then at the very least, stop giving her ammunition. Maybe he wanted to impress her. Maybe he never imagined she'd actually suggest murdering the king. Maybe he just wanted to talk about it. But if that's the case, weird thing to casually discuss. But anyway, honestly, Macbeth seems to have serious attachment issues. Kind of like a child who keeps trying desperately to get the affection and approval of a cold, distant parent. And in the first half of the play, Lady Macbeth does act more like a toxic mother figure than a wife, cleaning up after his failed murder attempt and shaming him into action. Then halfway through, it's like she just gives up. She disappears emotionally and then physically. Maybe she got sick of having to carry him. Maybe she was hoping that once she had helped him seize the throne, he'd step up and start acting like a king. Instead, he unravels. She thought she was creating a powerful ruler and got stuck babysitting a paranoid murderer. Or maybe she had this personal childhood and childish fantasy where being queen would fix everything for her. But when she finally got what she wanted, it didn't fill her emptiness. The classic, be careful what you wish for trope. You want the fame, the power, the crown, only to realize it solves nothing. In fact, it makes everything worse. I don't think Lady Macbeth was ever a happy person, and nothing would have ever made her happy. Even if somehow Macbeth had become the king she dreamed of, she would have still found a way to be dissatisfied with him, her life, and everything in general. And if the theory is true that she lost a child, something never confirmed nor denied in the play, the grief would explain a lot. It would explain her hardness, her ambition, her emptiness. What if the child's death was Macbeth's fault? That would explain why he tries so hard to please her. His guilt would make him bend to her will. Her icy, quiet, unspoken resentment might have been what gave her so much power over him. Maybe he thought that if he could just make her queen, she'd finally forgive him. That actually seems plausible. Because for someone as seasoned in fighting and as fearless as Macbeth, because he was a soldier, it would take something big for him to be that easily manipulated. What's clear is this: there are things about their marriage we'll never know and can only speculate. Shakespeare leaves a lot unsaid. But if there was love between them, it was a deeply toxic, twisted kind of love that was kind of codependent on Macbeth's part. One that could only ever end in blood and tragedy, dragging the entire country down with them. Hopefully, this has given you a new perspective on Macbeth. Until next time, bye!